you're live.
Today on DNVR Buffs Live, we are coming to you from lovely Las Vegas, Nevada. I have a really hot take about the Big 12. We had the worst breakfast of our lives.
Very mid at best.
And we're going to rank the top 5 QBs in the conference. And not to mention, we have former Colorado interim head coach Mike Sanford on the show. Let's get into it. Let's go, baby. We're here. We have arrived. Oh, we're making friends already.
We're trying our best. We're presented by Circa Resort and Casino. Experience stadium swim. Watch your favorite teams at Circa Resort and Casino. Book your stay with code DNVR20 for 20% off. We are here.
We're here. We made it.
We have made it. Today's been a day.
How was your night last night? I didn't see you.
Yeah, we tried to find you guys. It was a good night, though. We actually won money.
Hell yeah. I actually broke even, which is kind of like winning money in Las Vegas.
Yes, exactly.
I was down big and then had just a crazy comeback to break even, and I was like, this is my sign. This is my sign to go home. With
this information, it must be known then that Alyssa actually made the most money last night.
Playing the ponies, yeah?
Playing the ponies.
We love to see that. We love to see that. Shout out to Circa for hosting us once again. It just feels right when you walk into Circa.
It's home.
Yeah, it is. It's our home away from home.
Just like the Colorado Buffaloes are back home.
Then this morning we made it here to Big 12 Media Days, and it's been a interesting experience so far,
to say the least.
Yes. I'll start by saying the lunch, which you haven't had yet,
not yet, was
a big redeemer.
Yeah.
It came back. The breakfast was the worst meal I've had in my life.
Yep.
So we're kind of in the middle. We're kind of in the middle now.
I guess we only have room to go up, though.
Like, it takes a lot for me to just quit on a plate.
Yeah.
And I just threw the towel in.
I'm not going to lie. Those were the grossest looking eggs I think I've ever seen.
Like I said, the lunch was a redeeming factor, but as I said when we were eating breakfast, you can't trust the Raiders with anything.
No, it does feel very weird. We were sitting there watching the commissioner's press conference in the Raiders end zone. I just look down and I see the silver and black, and it's just, ugh.
Yeah. So just so you guys know, obviously last year at Pac-12 Media Day, we ended up talking to every single representative, I believe, of the entire conference that had showed up.
Pretty much.
Big 12 not doing it that way, and we didn't learn that until this morning.
Yeah.
So important lessons were learned today. Tomorrow, hopefully, we're going to have a few more guests and talk to a few more people. But I also think later today we'll have some content out.
Yes.
But when we got here, we learned that it's kind of just a free-for-all, which is fine. But when we were finally able to get some people to commit to coming and chatting with us, it was after the time of the show. So keep an eye on out for that stuff later. And then obviously tomorrow is when the Buffs will be here, and we'll have tons of content from there. And then, of course, we did talk to interim head coach from right before Coach Prime got here, Mike Sanford. So you guys will hear that conversation in a second. But first, Jake.
He took notes today, guys.
I took the best notes I've ever taken in my life during Brett Yormark's during his introductory press conference. For those of you at home, you can see those are my notes.
Really putting in some work.
Very detailed stuff. We got into it. So let's start with note number 1.
Let's hear it. What do you got?
As our friends at PHX are calling him Daddy Yormark, or Daddy Yorbucks. said that the Big 12 is the second most followed conference on Twitter and Instagram in all of college football.
Yes.
Jake, do you know why?
One Dion Coach Prime.
That is correct. Good job. He didn't mention that part, but
No.
that is absolutely the truth. As we saw with the bump that Colorado got, which was like absurd. What was it, like a 10,000% increase?
Yeah, it was astronomical. It was crazy.
So Coach Prime brings the followers. These next two notes don't really apply to the show.
Okay.
So let's make it to this last note.
Wait, hold on then. Before that, the commissioner also said this is the third best conference in the country. So who did he slight?
First of all, just lie and say it's the best.
Fair point. But there's a very clear one, too.
Yeah.
If we're third, is it the ACC, or does he dare take a shot at the SEC or Big Ten right now?
Wait, you think that one of those two teams could be in front?
He said they were the third. Someone's got to be fourth. I don't know
Obviously,
who
it's the ACC.
So then we're poaching Florida State, basically, is what I gained from that.
No, Florida State's going to one of those other two.
We'll see.
All right, back
Continue
to
with the notes.
the fourth and final note, and really just the second for the show.
Mm-hmm.
This one's the most important to me. He said we're exploring new TV windows to get the conference out there.
Mm-hmm.
He said he mentioned the competition on Saturdays, which again I just didn't like the vibe of that. Like just admitting you're third best, and then saying like there's just so much competition on Saturdays in college football. Like, what are you talking about? But that leads us to one place, right? Because we're already on Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
Can't have Sundays.
Right.
Thursdays, if you want to talk about competition, you're competing with the NFL as well. I think that Brett Yormark is considering Wednesday Big 12 football games.
That would be a choice. We're already playing on Thursday. It is before the NFL season for the season opener, but
Yep.
you think Wednesdays. We're going to be rivaling with Maction, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're worried about competition, why would you not go up against the MAC?
Mm-hmm.
That's an easy dub, right? I'm worried about this.
Hope.
No one will be happy about this except for consumers if something like that was to come to fruition.
Probably, yeah.
What do you think?
Football is meant to be played on the weekends.
Okay.
That is what I think. Unless it's a special circumstance like a season opener or Black Friday game. I don't need to be covering a game on a Wednesday. I'm sorry.
It feels small time.
Yeah, it's literally just like, well, this is where we could fit in. This is where we're going to take it, I guess.
Yeah, and there is something to be said for, like, if you're asking, like, Brett in Birmingham, Alabama, you're trying to – and he's not even actually an Alabama or an Auburn fan.
Okay.
He was like a UAB fan.
UAB Blazers, let's go.
He's a UAB fan, so UAB doesn't have a game this week, and he's deciding what to watch.
Okay.
If it's on Saturday night, he's probably watching the big SEC game, right? Whatever's on. So there is something to be said for, like, if you want eyeballs on the conference, no one's, like, you or me or anyone else other than the job part of it would not complain about watching Big 12 football games on the weekdays.
Sure.
But it feels like there's a maybe a little bit too much self-awareness going on here. Like, I'd kind of like to see a little bit of cockiness from the conference, which is just like, look, we're going to be the most competitive conference out there. We've got tons of star power. We've got, two Heisman candidates on one team.
Yep.
Like, we expect all eyes to be on us.
Right.
Rather than just like, okay, look, we're not the SEC and we're not the Big Ten.
Yeah.
So where else can we fit in? I don't know. It didn't set right for me.
No, I agree with that. He did kind of say some things, though. He mentioned, like, this is the deepest conference in the country, which I think you could definitely argue that. But if you're saying those things, why do we need Wednesday night if you expect every game to mean something? And he also said today we don't expect this title game to be figured out until well late into November.
I agree.
So,
That's where I'm at. It's like I'm just like let's. I would, remember when we made our conference? It was called the Chaos Conference.
Yep, All-City Chaos Conference.
I think that's what they should kind of like brand themselves as. Yeah. It's like we're like embrace the chaos. Mm-hmm. We don't have our Georgia or our Alabama or even an LSU.
Right.
We're a conference of teams who are fighting to become that. And that to me is the most interesting thing about the Big 12. And it's something that I think they should lean into, and something that can actually, in my opinion, be branded. Is like, we're not like those other conferences that have their big name brand schools at the very forefront that everyone knows and everyone's going to kind of tune in for. Like, this is an arms race. Tune in to see it.
So it sounds like this is a conference up for grabs completely. There's a crown to be.
It is.
Not only for this year, but for the next 5 to 6 years, however long this media deal lasts.
Absolutely. It absolutely is. Did you take any notes?
No. No, I did not.
I also, like, no team. Did you notice that no team was ever mentioned by name? No player was mentioned by name in that entire press conference?
By
or no
commissioner?
Coach. Yeah. Everything was in very broad strokes.
He did mention the Four Corner schools and then say they'll officially join on August 2nd.
Yes, but he never mentioned a school by name.
Yes.
Never mentioned a coach by name. Mm-hmm. Never mentioned a player by name.
Yeah.
Didn't even mention a city.
No.
Oh, he did mention Kansas City, Dallas, and Vegas.
Yeah.
Just interesting. Oh, one more shout out. Shout out to Seven Leaves Cafe and one of our great listeners, Chris, who had coffee delivered to us this morning.
Chris is amazing. And
he knew that you didn't like coffee, so he brought you a Red Bull. He actually had a Red Bull delivered to you.
My guy. That's the biggest Red Bull I've ever seen.
It's honestly a huge hookup. Like, no, there's no place where you need coffee more than in this town, or caffeine in your case.
Lifesaver. I needed it.
Yes, so thank you, Chris.
Appreciate you, Chris.
Thank you.
Any more takeaways from today so far?
My last and most important takeaway.
Let them know.
As we sit here right now on, no idea what day it is, Tuesday. July 9th.
Yep.
I've never been more confident that the Colorado Buffaloes are winning the Big 12.
Yes.
It doesn't feel like I thought it would. Like this big, powerful football entity.
Just seeing Avery Johnson in person and then seeing Alan Bowman in person, the gap between, and we'll get into this too, the gap between the best quarterback in this conference and the next best is could be fairly wide this year.
I think so too. I feel really
ocean, some might say.
I feel really, really confident right now.
Me too.
And, let me just talk about the Pac-12 because 1 year ago we were at Pac-12 Media Day.
Yes, sir.
And I did not feel that way.
No.
Now, obviously, it was a very different time. It was the very beginning of a rebuild.
Yeah.
And we kind of knew that it was going to be a huge challenge to just walk in and take over the conference.
Right.
But, dude, I just remember walking in and, like, Bo Nix is there.
Yeah.
And he's, like, suited up with, like, a perfectly knotted tie. Yep. And I was just like, damn, that looks like a quarterback.
Yeah.
That looks like a guy who might go win this conference.
Yep.
And then Caleb Williams walks in and he's got this, like, swagger about him. And it was just like, oh, man, that's the future #1 overall pick.
Yep.
And Michael Penix is there. And it's like, damn, this conference is stacked.
Yes.
And, like, with all due respect to some good players, like Cam Rising doesn't make you feel that way.
No.
That doesn't mean he's not good. I'm just saying he doesn't give off this, like, wow, that's a QB1 walking around,
For sure.
And neither do any of the other people here. And, again, it's not all about that. It's not about vibe. I'm just telling you, I feel good about things right now.
That's, I think, my big takeaway so far is just what's going on here today, and then when Colorado walks in the door, and everyone, that draw, that we talk about.
And that goes back to what we were just talking about, how this conference needs a headliner.
Yes. And tomorrow they're going to put their stamp on it, and you're going to see exactly how much pull CU is going to have for this conference and the opportunity that they have to really be the banner waver for this conference.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's get to our interview with Coach Sanford here. Juju just tweeted, by the way.
What did he tweet?
He said, God is good with an Indiana Hoosiers shirt.
Interesting. Okay.
Hashtag almost time. Hashtag trust God. Hashtag keep working.
Wow.
Hashtag next.
That's going to be talked about a lot.
Alrighty. Who are we shouting out here? Our friends at UC Health. Not just our friends, RK. Coach Prime's friends at UC Health.
Really?
Yes. And UC Health is big fans of DNVR, too. They helped us out with Cortland and his charity event that they put on. But they are the premier health organization out here in Colorado. They know how important mental health is, and we've talked about on this show how we want to eliminate the stigma about mental health and talking about mental health. UC Health also encourages you to do the same. They have statewide initiatives that include taking care of your mental health. They got tons of patient stories, too, including David Schlitt, a Colorado teenager who loves being active outdoors, is a prime example of someone taking care of their mental health for today and tomorrow. If you want to learn more about David's story and other inspiring patient stories from UC Health, you can head on over to uchealth.org/tomorrow to learn what it means to live like there is a tomorrow. What do you think tomorrow holds for us?
Hopefully some very big interviews.
Yeah. I think we've got that in the bag.
All right.
And then tell us about your Toyota, your wonderful, reliable, efficient Toyota.
I did not drive to Las Vegas, but I could have. That's how much I trust my Toyota. I did drive up to the mountains. I guess I haven't been on this show since then. So,
it's been a week since you've done a show.
Yeah, it has. So I used my Toyota to drive up to the mountains. It was reliable as always, comfortable as always. I was using that sick hands-free cruise control.
Spaceship ability.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just a great car, man. Love my Toyota. Can't say enough great things about it, and can't wait to get my next Toyota. And when I do, I'm going to go to a Front Range Toyota stores, including, but not limited to, well, maybe it is limited to, AutoNation Toyota Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is a proud partner of CU Athletics and the official vehicle of DNVR.
Looks like Mike Gundy's on fire right now.
It does. It's kind of cool, though.
All right.
By the way, speaking of Mike Gundy.
Yeah?
No punishment for Ollie Gordon. DUI.
That was crazy.
Just get out there and go get him, son.
Do you want to tell him the quote, what it was?
I didn't hear this. I can't. I don't know if I can confirm. That was hearsay, that quote. But I did see that they said they brought him here as for him to have to take accountability for his actions.
I've got the quote.
Okay.
If there's any punishment, it's making Ollie Gordon carry the ball 50 times in the first game.
That is so wild.
Oh, man. That's crazy.
Shout out to our guy Landon in the office. He called it.
He did?
Yeah, because I was
Told us straight up.
I said it's going to be anywhere between the first half of the first game to 3 games. And he said, no, it'll be nothing. Slap on the wrist. I think his wrists are unmarked.
Probably. He's walking around here like nothing's going on.
Not even a slap. Not even a slap with one of those bracelets.
The ones that, wrap around.
Yeah.
All right, we talked to Coach Sanford. He's out here kind of he covers Boise State and some Mountain West stuff, but he's been out here hanging out. It was good to catch up with him because he was at least my first big interview on this beat.
Yeah,
getting him.
It was cool. For those of you who have been around for a long time, you'll remember we had him at the top of the Champion Center.
Yep.
It was a great interview. We hung out with him for a while after the interview. And he, I thought did a great job with a very, very poor hand.
Yes.
And it was cool to just kind of get his insights on some things.
Yeah, we spoke about a lot. Shedeur, the OBs, all kinds of stuff. So whenever you're ready, Alyssa, Mike Sanford. Joining the show now, we've got Altitude Sports. Mike Sanford, former CU coach. It's been a while, man. How you been?
It's good to see you guys.
It's great to see you, too. Last time we were sitting up on the top floor of the Champion Center, looking out over it. It was a long time ago.
Did was like a 2-hour special, I think.
Yes.
It was unbelievable.
Full show.
It got weird, too. If I'm not mistaken, there was some strangeness to that 2-hour show. You're like, who is this guy? This new interim guy's a weirdo.
I think we did get to Zins at one point.
We did,
yeah.
And I actually took it out, before, just to show you guys respect in your program. I love following what you guys do. You guys cover a team, and having been a coach for a long time, when you have somebody that's supporting your program, it means a lot. So you guys just put forth incredible content across DNVR. I was watching the Rapid show after I went to the game on Sunday, and Mitch and the crew was spitting hot fire about the Rapids. So love what you guys do.
A lot has changed since then. Now we're Lucy guys instead of Zins.
Course.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I might have to partake.
It's big for us.
I'm not actually contractually obligated to Zins, so
we'll give you a can after this. A lot has changed, but you've been all over in your coaching career, and yet you're still in Colorado. Why is that?
Well, first off, I have been to a lot of these events, a couple of them as a head coach, and it's weird that I have to wear a badge this time.
Yeah.
When you come as a head coach, they don't give you a badge.
People look at you differently.
Yeah, they're like, who is that weirdo? But, for me, I loved my time at CU. I've moved, I think my 14-year-old daughter's moved 11 times. It's the industry. It's what you sign up for, so never looking for a pity party. But you also have to make decisions at some point for your family. And this was a place that we felt as a family is our favorite place that we've lived. And we've lived in a lot of cool places. But a lot of the stuff that I think I said about CU and Boulder are things that I really did mean, and I'm actually putting my boots where my mouth is, if you will, and staying here in Colorado, and now just wanting to stay involved in the sport of football. But I've always been really interested in all sports, in soccer, basketball, baseball, and so the opportunity to be in the local media in Denver was really a fun thing to do this past year, and just looking for more opportunities to do that. That's why I'm here right now.
Awesome, man.
You mentioned soccer. I remember you were a big soccer guy towards the end of your time at CU. Is the World Cup time and all that going on?
Remember we had a team watch party.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah,
all these players that had never watched an international match. We watched England and USA, and it was a 1-1 draw. And I'm sitting there celebrating, and they're like, "We tied. How's that cool?" So it's fun. I've kind of been now my family. We're all kind of members of the Centennial 38 crew in the Rapids, because the U.S. team has nothing to root for right now.
No.
So the Rapids are on fire.
Love to hear it. So let's just talk about this team. Coach has talked a lot about the OBs, the original Buffaloes on this team. I think there's 10 of them, but guys like Trevor have played a big role. Just what is your reaction just seeing them hang on to the roster, hold on to that scholarship and continue to contribute moving forward at Colorado?
Well, when there was inevitable transition going to be happening for these players, I actually had a chance after the Utah game, I told you guys off air, but to meet with every individual player and tell them, hey, this is what I think is going to happen. And there were a lot of rumors, and I felt like there were substantiated rumors about Coach Prime coming to CU. And I just told him, you think that your spot is safe, you better get ready to compete and compete hard, because, frankly, if I told a lot of them, if I'm the head coach or if Coach Prime's the head coach, there's really nobody safe. And that's the reality of college football in 2024. I got really close to a lot of those players, and a lot of those players were calling me, especially in the first several months, just concerned about their future. And interestingly enough, the ones that are still on the team weren't calling me because they were doing all the right things probably. But, I'm super proud of a guy like Trevor Woods. I had a chance to go to 2 games last year. One game notably was the Nebraska game, which was incredible.
Yeah.
The other game, not so notable, the Stanford game.
Oh, man.
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that.
Sorry.
We don't mention that game.
Against the rules.
I didn't know there were rules. I thought it was I think we were in a free media enterprise here. But, so I'm proud of a guy like Trevor Woods to make the transition from being frankly a skinny, undersized safety to now playing linebacker, and just his football instincts are on a different level, something that we saw very early on. I mean, he's a big reason that we won the one game against Cal in 2022 with just a lot of his plays, but namely his interception to seal the game at the end. He's just one of those players that just shows up in critical moments and does it so well. Charlie Offerdahl, man, I mean, I'm so excited that his last name came to fruition and he has now been offered a scholarship.
Yes.
And very, very worth it. If you remember in 2022, he's a starting running back for us.
Yes, sir, he was.
He was good.
He was a good player. He's got great hands. He's tough. He's intelligent. Obviously incredibly dependable, but, the scrimmages is one of those deals where every time there's a spring game, a scrimmage, he just kept showing up. And you're like, this guy –
Yep.
we got to start playing him on varsity, if you will. And so that's why we started playing him in 22. And I think he's just an incredible, just jack of all trades in the backfield. And, even guys like Ben Finiseth that, was an incredible special teams contributor in 22 and had a little bit of an injury last year. So I think he'll be impactful this season and maybe a role that you won't expect. He might end up causing a fumble that wins a game. Those are the kind of guys that are – just high character. They care. They love the game of football, and they don't care what was put in front of them. They were going to go conquer whatever it looked like, and that's why the OBs are the OBs.
We ask a lot of guys who's the funniest player on the team, and almost all of them say Ben Finiseth.
Yeah, Finiseth. I even saw his dance at the Lil Wayne concert. I think it was Lil Wayne that was. It might have been one of the opening acts, but I saw Ben out there getting it. I'm like, it looks like the locker room. We've all seen that version of Ben. It was fun. I'm coaching high school football. Joel Klatt's brother, Jason Klatt's the head coach at Meade High School. I'm a volunteer there just to stay around the game and give back to the game that's given so much to me. And so Ben Finiseth had played at Durango, and so he came to our Meade Durango game. It was fun to catch up with him last fall. He's doing really well.
Circling back to what you said about Trevor and his football IQ and his instincts, and obviously you coach offense, but we talk about that a lot on this show and how the coaches can't help but put a guy like that on the field. What is it, and when we talk about instincts and we talk about football IQ, what is it that translates to the field that's so important to have a guy like that out there?
It's interesting. Like Trevor Woods is one of those guys. He's not an extremely talkative individual. He doesn't, like in meetings, he wouldn't be the guy that's answering questions per se. But he's got the similar trait that I see in Shedeur Sanders, where they see it on the field. They see it really well. Some guys are really good in the meeting room environment and they have all the right answers. But then when it comes to translating it onto the field and seeing it and reacting incredibly quickly, they just don't have it. And Trevor Woods is one of those guys that he's really intelligent naturally, but he's kind of a silent assassin. When he steps out on that field, he just sees it and he executes it. And that's something that I saw in Shedeur's game this year. When he's out on the field, he sees it. And I think that's actually his greatest trait. And it's a weird thing because you can't really quantify that. Like if you're evaluating quarterbacks, and I did it all this offseason, went to the down to the combine, went to the Senior Bowl. I had my opinions about Bo Nix. We don't need to get into that on this show.
So did I. It's all right.
But I'll say this, I saw in Shedeur Sanders that he has the ability to just see the field. Like even if he's not identifying everything like on defense, he just takes his drop, sees the open area, understands how coverages work, and then delivers the ball accurately. And I think that's probably his greatest trait. In addition to the fact that he's going to come from behind if you give him a chance to give him the ball at the end of the game.
To kind of go with that, last year in Sean Lewis's offense. Very modern offense, right? A lot of options all over the field. Yeah,
very collegey.
For sure. So, and with Pat Shurmur coming in, it seems like it's going to be a lot more structured under him for Shedeur. Just when you watched last year and you saw Shedeur struggling, what did you see? Because you played quarterback, when you put yourself in his shoes, with the bad offensive line and all this stuff, just what did you see from him in those times?
Well, I have a little bit of different take on it probably than just the offensive line was bad or even that Shedeur was struggling. I think any time that you have a quarterback that doesn't have any form of run game to depend on, and frankly, there wasn't much of a commitment to the run game.
Yeah.
And I don't know all the inner workings of what was going on. I have nobody in the building to tell me that. But when you don't have any form of a run game, your play actions aren't very good. Mm-hmm. Your bootlegs, nakeds that are coming off the run game have very little value. And a defense is just going to play you, pin their ears back at defensive end. Their defensive tackles aren't really worried about gap control. And then it allows, frankly, a pass rush to just explode. And that's what happened all year. So I never actually saw that Shedeur was struggling. I just saw that in the absence of any form of a commitment to the run game, it really neutered the offense from having the ability to activate the play action game. Because once again, if you don't respect the run,
right,
then those play actions are going to give you very little in terms of affecting the linebackers and the defensive line.
When you're watching, can you watch football without being a coach?
Oh, it's actually become my toxic trait. I had never been to, like, as a fan, a college or NFL football game, and since my dad was coaching and I was, 15, 16 years old. So I'm 42 now. I'm an old guy, right? So I went to my first Broncos game this year, and I sat up in the end zone section. I think it's the 500 section. I'm up there in the nosebleeds with my family. And I'm just talking about coverages, pressure. Yeah. I'm saying who's going to be coming, blitzing.
Yeah.
And the guy next to me looked at me and he's like, how did you know that? And I never tell him. I'm just like, I love football.
Love the game, man.
It's a great game. But it's been a lot of fun, and that's why I think that there is value for me in this space of media, and I want to do color commentary. I want to be an analyst because I've studied the game from an all-22 perspective for so long as an offensive coordinator, as a quarterback, as a player, and then as a head coach. You got to know all 22, and then you got to know special teams. So it's a lot of fun.
On that same note, you talk about like a commitment to the run game, and I always feel like it's probably way easier for me to say that you need to have a commitment to the run game than it is when you're in the press box calling the plays, and it's like 2nd and 10 or whatever, and you know that you're averaging like 2.7 yards per carry at best, but you're like, man, we have to get a run in here somewhere. Like, how hard is that in
really
the
hard.
moment?
You watched it in 2022 with me as a play caller. I mean, that's a reality. Like, we had to run the football to even give our quarterbacks a chance versus a pass rush that's going to pin their ears back. If you don't have the ability to run the nakeds and the bootlegs because nobody respects your run game, it's hard to come by just easy completions. Teams can very easily play man coverage, lock you down. You can say, oh, we're just going to throw a go ball, which is easy to protect, and that's what CU did a lot last year. But it's a low percentage. Like, if you complete 40% of those, you're elite. Yeah. But if you're in that 20% range, then you're going to be punting a lot, and it's going to be, it's going to be fourth and long pretty quickly.
Yep.
Travis Hunter, have you ever seen anyone like him? And you, just as an offensive mind, do you think that the future for him lies at wide receiver or defensive back in the NFL?
I think as an NFL player, I think he's still going to be an X factor. I think he's going to be one of those guys that gets used sparingly, and we'll see how this NFL kickoff return works out this year. Yeah. But I think he has so much ability as a dynamic playmaker. His elite trait, though, is his ball skills.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, his ball skills, like watching that TCU game, I watched it very closely, and I'll be honest, I was shocked at everything that happened in that TCU game. But the particular play that I thought turned the game on its head was when he's playing man coverage. And frankly, if I was grading him as a defensive coordinator, he got a minus for that play.
For sure, yeah.
Because it's man coverage. You stay on your guy, and the backer's got to play over the top on the swing that was run to the running back. He just has that it factor that I'm saying. Like, you see it on the field, and then you have the ability to make those quick reactions and then make a freakishly athletic play. That is, to me, that one play is what really got this season to the point where the entire world was watching. Mm-hmm. It was because of that one play, and it was probably a double minus. But then, hey, great play. Thanks for giving us the biggest win in the last 2 decades in CU football.
My favorite part of that game is later when I think it's a slant that he is in man again, and he just covers it and almost intercepts it, and it's off his fingertips. And Joel Klatt's in the booth, and he just goes, jeez. Yeah. Like, it's just like there's nothing you can do to get away from this guy. If you throw it to his side, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and I don't think I answered the original question well, because I think I said X factor, but I do think that his ball skills are going to be so impactful on the defensive side of the ball. I think it just is a tremendous cover corner. He can play zone, he can play man, and the reason he plays zone so well is because he just knows concepts. He understands spacing. He can come off at the right time to either get the deflection or get an interception, get in harm's way. He's going to have a big NFL career, and I think it's going to be big plays. It's not going to necessarily be the PS2 where the stats are like, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
You watch PS2, you're like, it's the ball skills for Travis Hunter that are just completely different than I think really anybody in the National Football League right now.
Yeah. Colorado came in 11th in the preseason Big 12 media poll. Just when you look at this team, you look at this conference as it stands now, how do you project CU doing this year?
I think it's going to be really interesting. We were looking at the 16 teams in this new conference, and it's going to be one of the more dynamic conferences in all of college football. And by dynamic, I say every game's going to be watchable. Yep. There are going to be games that are going to be contested. I think CU is going to be in a lot of football games. I do believe that the key to this season to get the expectations that all CU fans want is going to be the ability to run the football, the commitment to running the football, what that all looks like. Because if this team can run the football and has like Michael Welch becomes that type of guy, look out for what the pass game is going to do. But if you become one-dimensional, you're going to score points. But you're also probably going to have the sack numbers are going to be similar, and I think it's going to be really important for Shedeur's NFL prospects to be a number 1 draft pick, a first-round draft pick is that number, which I think was hovering in the mid-50s a year ago.
52.
It's got to be cut in half, at least. Yep. And I think that'll be critical to go from what is now the 11th preseason team to being in the top 1, 2, or 3. Is going to be dependent on those factors. And plus, defensively, I'm anxious to see what Livingston's going to bring to the table. I mean, NFL. I have a friend on the Bengals staff. Is actually a family member. He loves Livingston. Thinks he's a great human being. He's very bright. So it'll be interesting to see what he comes up with. Is it going to be heavy pressure? Is it going to be really sound? Is it going to be about the run fits? Last year was very much about just creating havoc, blitzing teams back to the Stone Age, and then just hoping you got home either in the backfield with the running back or obviously getting a sack. And if not, it was tough. I mean, it was tough to be out there.
You mentioned the sacks. Just as a former quarterback and as a quarterback coach, offensive coach, how difficult is it to keep on coaching a player that's under that type of duress and to keep their eyes up, I guess, to put it plainly, just so they don't get overwhelmed by all the constant pressure that they're having to face?
It can be challenging because the quarterback position is it's so much right here between the ears. And I just listened to Matt Rule's interview about Shedeur and what he said about his toughness. That's a trait that I noticed really quickly. It wasn't even the Washington State game. I think he was a walking wounded individual, and kudos to him to even putting the uniform on and showing up for that game, because he was already pretty hurt. It sounded like he had at least a microfracture or something in his back. It becomes challenging. It becomes challenging because if you don't have anything else that you can rely on besides the intermediate and chunk passing game, you're going to have to work the pocket. You're going to have to take those hits. You're going to have to deliver the ball knowing that you're going to get smoked. As a quarterback, I will say that was my favorite thing to do. I loved hanging in the pocket, knowing that somebody was rearing down on you, about ready to blow you up, and then being on your back and just hearing the roar of the crowd at home, or the mute silence of being on the road.
That's awesome.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, that was great.
Well, appreciate it, Coach. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
what do you got going on, I guess, in the future? Are we going to see you on the sideline soon?
Hopefully. Sideline, but with one of these on.
With a headset?
Yeah, media headset. I just, the next couple days I'll be covering CSU and Boise State in the Mountain West side of things. I played at Boise State, coached there as well. So I've been doing a lot of stuff with the media out in Boise. And then and they have a similar setup to you guys. They're kind of independent. It's a podcast, live stream podcast.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's a lot of fun. So we're going to be covering that conference really, really closely. I'm bummed I won't be here tomorrow for all the CU activity because I have a lot of obligations over at the Mountain West side.
Well, thanks again, Coach. We'll look forward to seeing what you do in the near future then.
Yeah. Hey, great to be on with you guys.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
There he is.
Interesting conversation.
Yeah.
What was your biggest takeaway?
I will tell you that after we shout out our friends.
They call that a tease in the biz.
You like that?
Yeah, it's good.
I've been getting good at it.
It's good stuff.
Our friends over at Premier Members Credit Union. Do you like money? This is a question to you and the chat, by the way.
Love it.
At Premier Members Credit Union, you can get $200 just by opening a checking account.
That's nice. I would probably put it all in black.
Or on CU to win the Big 12.
That is a better return.
Much better
return.
Much better. But they're a credit union. They're not a bank. They do things a little differently. They put their members first with things like high savings interest and lower loan rates. With PMCU, you get local branches and different ways to save, like their new high-yield savings account. When you become a new member at PMCU, you'll get $200. All you have to do is open a checking account and sign up for e-statements. It's that easy. This will be your best money move yet. Head on over to becomepremier.com to find out more.
Shout out to Talking Buffs with YC for noticing the watch game. I'm gonna, every single time I do anything in College Football 25, I'm throwing up the Shedeur.
You have to.
Like, the people that I play are going to be so sick of that celly. It's going to it's going to be amazing.
You're obligated. You have a team-specific celebration that is locked.
Is ours the only one are we the only team that have a team-specific celebration?
From what we've seen so far, it looks like it, yeah.
Because I just watched, there was obviously like a screen record of it or whatever. And like they're scrolling through. It's the only one that had like the parentheses around it. But I was guessing like if you're Texas, you could do Hook 'em Horns or something like that. Yeah, Gators.
Gator Chomp, yeah.
But it did look, in that video, is the only one that had parentheses around it.
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
I don't know. You want to shout out Bet365?
Yes, I do want to shout out Bet365. Do you like money?
I love money. Please tell me more.
Well, if you sign up at Bet365 and use the code DNVR365 to sign up, you can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets. And think about this, Jake. You go set up an account at Premier Members Credit Union. You take that $200. You just need 5 of it.
Yeah.
You actually need 10 of it. You have to put 10 in your deposit. Then you take 5 of that, place it on a bet on anything, maybe Colorado to win the Big 12. Then you get $150 in free bets. So now you're up to what, $340?
Yep.
Plus what's still in your account. Maybe you win all that.
Right.
It's a nice little start.
Not bad at all.
Nice little start. Anyways, so get over to Bet365. Use the code DNVR365 and get in on that bet and get offer to get $150 in bonus bets. Of course, you must be 21 plus and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know have a gambling problem and want help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
The allegations in the chat
seriously
are insane today.
What's the craziest part about this is that I, maybe for the first time in my Vegas life, was in bed before midnight last night.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you
and
absolutely
then up
stayed.
at 7:30 this morning to collect our coffees from our good friend Chris.
Well, that makes sense why we couldn't find you last night, because we went around to like 3 different casinos on Fremont.
You were just like, he's got to be somewhere.
Yeah. Had all these memories coming back of drunkenly walking into whatever and
Golden Gate
going on. Yeah, tons of stuff. I'm not high.
No one here is under the influence of anything.
This is insane.
Except for 7 Leaves Coffee.
Yeah, and some Red Bull. All right, let's rank the top 5 quarterbacks in this conference. Some teams have decided not to bring their quarterbacks to media day.
Yikes.
Yeah, says a lot about the state of their team, I think.
Yes. One of them is just right next to us over here. PHNX.
Oh, yeah, bummer. Oh, well. Where do we start? Do we want to do honorable mentions, guys who didn't make the list?
Sure.
Who would you throw out there as your honorable mention? Mine would be KJ Jefferson.
Yeah, I think KJ Jefferson could have been on this list. He's in an interesting situation going from the SEC, where obviously it's tough sledding against most of those defenses, to now in the Big 12, where you assume it's going to be a lot more open. I could absolutely see KJ Jefferson having a big season.
Yeah, just teaming up with Gus Malzahn, I think it's an interesting combo, interesting fit, because we know about Gus's time over at Auburn with Cam Newton, obviously what they were able to do, and ever since KJ, burst onto the scene at Arkansas, that's all you heard was the Cam Newton comparisons. He's obviously kind of struggled with, consistency and stuff like that, but he comes in as a grad transfer quarterback, like 6'4", 240 pounds, something like that.
Yep.
Last year, 19 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. He also added only 2 on the ground. He did get hurt at a certain point as well. So
he's been playing college football for a very long time, Jake.
Yep.
This will be his 6th season since he entered. He played his first game in 2019. But he's had some nice seasons. I mean, 2021, 21 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. The passing yards have never been high, but he does take care of the ball. And last year was actually a career high in interceptions. I think he'll have a good season. It's just, I don't know how good. And I also don't know how good his supporting cast is.
Right. But he does have Shedeur's face pinned up in his locker with a Skip Bayless quote.
What do you think of that?
That's weird.
Very weird, right?
Why are we using Skip Bayless for motivation, bro?
I don't even think about that. It's just like, he didn't mention KJ's name at all.
No.
And like that's where it's weird to me. It's like if KJ wanted to pull this clip of like a picture of us here with a thing that we didn't put him in the top 5, that makes sense.
Yes.
Just saying, I think Shedeur is like the best quarterback one of the best quarterbacks in the country and the best quarterback in the conference or whatever he said.
Right.
That was odd. Maybe he's just a fan.
He might be.
It's just loves Shedeur.
Everyone likes Colorado, from what I've seen. All right, number 5. Let's get into the list. We went with Rocco Becht out of Iowa State. Came in last year, started all 13 games, had a really impressive season actually when you look at the numbers. 23 to 8 touchdowns to interceptions, 3,120 yards, 63% completion. Also added 3 rushing touchdowns. Not a big runner, but is somewhat of a threat on the ground. He's not a statue back there, basically.
Yeah, to me, this is we went through a bunch of options for number 5. I guess we didn't get through our other honorable mentions, but Alan Bowman was one of them.
Right.
Kind of a gunslinger.
Yeah.
Fits, I guess, for the Cowboys. Who was our other one? Avery Johnson.
Avery Johnson was the other one, yep.
And then the West Virginia kid, Green.
Garrett Green.
Yep. We don't like anyone with the last name Green here. He's not paying attention. But I think we had to kind of project a little bit for our 5th. The other ones were a little bit more straightforward.
Yep.
To me, if I'm projecting, I liked Rocco Becht's freshman season as much as anyone's.
Yep.
He redshirted his freshman year. This last year, 63% completions, 3,100 yards, 23 touchdowns to 8 interceptions with a 150 rating.
Mm-hmm.
Really impressive for a young kid. And so I like where he's going.
And as we talk about him, his head coach is on the main stage podium right now, Matt Campbell.
Yep.
This is a team that returns a lot of returning production. It's going to be, aside from quarterback, a pretty much pretty good group of veterans, I guess is what I'm trying to say, to lead this team. So I don't think they're being talked about enough at this point as well. And I think, as we talk about this conference being wide open, this could be a team that's in contention in November. What now?
The comments are just on one.
It's crazy.
What
did I do?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
What did I do?
We're open with you guys. We've been at least drunk on this show before, and we let you know when it's up.
Yes. All right, next guy.
Jalen,
yes, thank you. Jalen Daniels out of Kansas. Has battled through a lot of injuries on the field, but is one of the reasons why we talk about Kansas in this way, as opposed to being a bottom dweller of the Big 12. 6 foot, 200 pounds. You look at the numbers from last year. He was dealing, I think it was a back injury, so he only played in 3 games. He played pretty well in those games from what we saw. I mean, finished the year with 75% completion, 700 yards, 5-1 touchdown to interception.
He was on pace to have a year.
Mm-hmm. But only ran the ball 27 times for a 2.7 yards per carry average. I think that's the biggest question about him is, can he get back to that 2022 form, where he was running around a lot. He ran for 425 yards and 7 touchdowns that year. That's the kind of player Kansas needs if they're going to compete for the Big 12, is that dual threat at quarterback.
Yeah, and again, I'll actually save that take for the end of it. But Jalen Daniels, as is the case with Cam Rising, I'm just a little bit worried about how do these guys come back from their injuries. And that's my number one thought as I'm grading, the top quarterbacks in this conference is, what's everyone coming back from? And Jalen Daniels has a big injury to overcome. And especially for a guy who relies on his legs as much as he likes to, and when he's at his best, he does. What did he ran? He ran for almost 500 yards and 7 touchdowns in 22. Yep. So 77 carries that year. Are you going to have the confidence to run the ball 77 times this year? I don't know, and I'm interested to see it. But I think it's something to keep an eye on, and it's why he's probably not ranked higher. He probably could, if he was healthy all last year, might be higher on this list.
Oh, definitely. He's probably
Where did that breeze come from?
I don't know. It's nice, though. He's probably in the Heisman contenders conversation if he gets through last year healthy. Number 3, we went with Cam Rising, and we've talked a lot about him the last 2 years, but he hasn't done anything.
Sorry. Some interesting stuff going on next to us. Yeah. What?
That interaction.
Yeah. Cam Rising, first of all, is a grown-ass man. Yes. Like legit, like literally. Got to be at least 25 years old.
Yep.
Been around here a long time, won a lot of big games, played in a lot of big games, made a ton of big plays. Honestly, if you don't have a Shedeur Sanders level quarterback, which pretty much no one does, Cam Rising is almost like the perfect, like a coach's dream at quarterback. Right. The toughness, he's got the accuracy, and like I said, he's played in a lot of big games, made a lot of big plays. He stands in there. He's super tough. He will run someone over if he gets the opportunity to. Kind of one of those like emotional leaders of a football team. He's a great quarterback. He's a great quarterback.
He is. But you go and you look at his peak here from 2021 and 2022 when Utah was really rolling, in not just the Pac-12 conversation, potentially the CFP conversations if a few games go differently.
Wait, didn't we have him number 2?
No.
Okay. I think we did.
I don't think so.
It's fine.
But he ran for near 500 yards in 21 and 22 with 6 touchdowns in each of those years. And, again, it's the same conversation we had about Jalen Daniels is can you get back to that? Can you be that complete player that you were? Or if not, how much of your game is going to change and can you elevate that game to make up for what you're not able to do like you were in previous years?
Yep.
Number 2, we have Noah Fafita.
I think I would switch these two.
You told me you think he would be number 2.
Then when we came to Rising, I said I think he should be number 2. If you weren't so high, maybe you would.
I suggested Cam Rising number 2.
No. Absolutely not.
Yes, I did. And then I brought up Fafita, and you were like, actually, I was thinking about putting him in number 2.
No, what happened was I brought up Fafita. I was like, I think that's my number 2. And then you brought up Rising. I'm like, oh, no, that's number 2. Anyways, it doesn't matter. We'll get to Fafita here. Who, if you stretch his numbers out from the games he did play in last year across a full season, would have had an unreal season. He played in 12 games, but he didn't fully start until the Washington game at the end of September. Yep. So didn't play in the first 3 games. Yeah, only threw 8 passes. Yep, 8 passes in the first 3 games. So they're taking me seriously. And so you add another 3 games on, and 2 of those games were against UTEP and Northern Arizona, and he would have had, probably 3,500 yards. And what did he end up having? It's at the bottom there. Where? There we go. So he had 2,800 yards, 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. You're probably talking about closer to 3,500 yards. They're over 30 touchdowns, maybe one or 2 more interceptions, but he just kind of came out of nowhere. Yep, he really did. And I remember it was that Washington game, but I feel like it was actually the USC game where he came in and played really well. Yep. And they almost beat USC. What was it, like double overtime or something? And Caleb Williams made a big play in double overtime to beat him. Yeah, that game he had 5 touchdowns through the air, 300 yards, completed 71%. So that was his second start, and he was really impressive there. And then it was, you kind of get that idea of like, oh, it's a flash in the pan. There's no film out on him, and I kept thinking it. And honestly, Colorado was his worst game of the season. It was, yeah. And and that 60% completions, 214 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, nothing on the ground. I thought they had an amazing game plan. They did a great job against him that game. But other than that, man, he was lighting people up. He was. 500 yards against ASU, 5 touchdowns. Dude can sling it. You can't. Right. What happened last year and what he did, I think, proved himself in a way, but I think there's still a lot of questions that he and this team, Arizona, need to answer this year. Obviously, the new head coach, you got, I think, Dino Babers is the OC now, so new offense. And then, you have McMillan, right? You have Tetaroa, who's one of the best receivers in the country, one of the best receivers in this conference. But last year they had other guys, Jacob Cowing, they had a full arsenal. MLC. Yeah, they had tons of guys at wide receiver. So who's going to step up around him? Who's going to be those guys that kind of, help take
some of the share off of McMillan's plate and, allow Fafita to do what he did best last year, which is spread the ball around, not turn it over. He's not a big runner either. Arizona had a tackle go in the first round of the draft as well, so they're going to have to replace one of the best tackles in the conference. But we'll see. He's obviously got the talent. We saw it last year.
It is going to be interesting, and I'm a lot more worried about Arizona as a team than I am as Noah Fafita as a quarterback.
Yes.
That being said, though, Jedd Fisch was brought there as a quarterback whisperer.
Mm-hmm.
And how many times have you seen it? This is a bad example probably, but it's the closest one to me. Drew Lock.
Right.
Goes, 4-1 or 5-1 in his first 6 games as a starter with the Broncos with Rich Scangarello as their offensive coordinator.
Yep.
And they switch offensive coordinators, and actually it was Pat Shurmur who came in.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't click. Mm-hmm. And, Drew's kind of longing for the old play calls, and it's not meshing as well. And I think of it that's always a concern for someone like a Noah Fafita who burst on the scene, and everything almost went right for him for the beginning of that season, or for all of that season.
Right.
Then all of a sudden you face a little adversity. You lose your coach. You get a new offensive coordinator. You have to learn a whole new offense. There's just a lot to that creates more variables that you don't love.
Absolutely.
That being said, the dude can sling it.
Yes, he can.
Not as a runner, but as a thrower, he reminds me a bit of Kyler Murray.
I can see that, yeah. He's very accurate. Completed 72% of his passes last year. So, number 1, we know who it is.
Let me just say this, number 1 with a bullet.
Without question.
Yep.
Shedeur Sanders.
Shedeur Sanders. And just going through this exercise, it's really not that close.
I'm telling you, it's one of the biggest takeaways from day 1 of this media day.
Yeah. I've got Shedeur as the best quarterback in the conference. In the country. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, I have him the best quarterback in the conference.
For sure.
But he has, we talked about it a little bit with Coach Sanford, and it's that ability to see the field and feel the game and the toughness to stand in there and the accuracy with the football and the understanding of the offense and all of that stuff. There's no one else in the country that has all of that.
Yeah.
And it's why he's going to be the eventual number 1 overall pick, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions. But it's just a combination of everything. There's really no hole in Shedeur's game.
No, you can look at last year and say, he takes too much sacks, he holds onto the ball too much. But, if you look at it how we look at it, which is probably more optimistic than a lot of people, obviously, on the outside, when we talked about it with Coach Sanford, Shurmur's going to kind of simplify things. He's not going to have to deal with all these option routes and stuff that he talked about at the Super Bowl from last year. So I think that it's going to allow him to be a field general more so, get the team into the right play. And again, to what Coach Sanford said, if this guy has a running game, man, it's over. If just that little bit of balance and unpredictability in their offense, I don't know how you stop him.
I don't either, and I've said this a million times, but I'll say it again as we're here at Big 12 Media Day. 27 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. We just went through, the Big 12 almost had more of an offensively focused reputation than the Pac-12 did.
Yeah.
Or at least on par. No one even touched that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's while getting sacked 52 times and 0 running game.
Yep.
We talked about Coach Sanford. Imagine you cut the sacks in half and double the running game.
Mm-hmm.
I realize that sounds like you're asking a lot, but both of those things were so out of this world bad that it's not that remarkable if you were able to pull that off.
Absolutely.
And so now, you can legitimately fathom Shedeur Sanders, and maybe you get more rushing touchdowns, so it offsets it, but mid to high 30s, upwards of 40 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. There's no reason why the interceptions would go up. Mm-hmm. So you're talking somewhere between 1 and 5 interceptions. And I think what will be the most impressive thing if the running game gets better is his completion percentage will go up even higher.
Yep.
And it was already high last year.
Yeah, it was. I think he finished at 69%. Nice. But to your point, what you said about, being the most sacked quarterback in the country and having one of the worst rushing attacks and that kind of balancing itself out, it's the same position group that's responsible for both. It's the offensive line. If you just improve that position group and it's able to gel and you're able to, just keep things on schedule on a down-to-down basis with the offense, both of those things will improve.
100%.
Just comes with it. I deserve props for getting through that while getting absolutely blasted in the chat for some reason.
This is crazy, man. This is crazy.
I don't know what I did. Really don't.
I don't either. But between Shedeur and Travis and all, Shiloh, who the Big 12 doesn't know how to spell his name, did you see that it's actually wrong in 2 places?
Oh, no. Where now?
There's like little locker inserts, like for your name.
Yeah.
They have it wrong there too.
It's crazy. They're literally creating more work for themselves. Just take the H off. Like,
a lot of people put the H on there.
Weird.
What did I just say?
I don't know. A lot of people take the H
there
off.
You go.
What does that mean?
The chat was saying to ask you what I just said because I didn't think that you would remember.
This is crazy.
I'm starting to believe the chat, and I've been with you since 7 a.m.
Well, you would have known if I went out to smoke then.
That's exactly my point.
Someone asked where the guests are and stuff. We'll record more content once we're done with this.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but just a different setup than what we're used to.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have a couple interviews that we're going to get, but not until around 2:30 our time here. So
yeah.
That'll be up on the channel, and then obviously tomorrow should be a very jam-packed show.
Definitely. Good God. Just the structure of this whole thing. Yeah, we were trying to figure it out, but I'm glad this happened today and not tomorrow or that CU is tomorrow and not today, so that we could get it all figured out and ready for tomorrow.
100%. And by the way, Connor Johnson just in the chat, just fighting for the good name of the Pac-12.
He's trying his hardest out there. We see you, Connor.
The Big 12's missteps
Uh-huh.
have nothing to do with how good or bad the Pac-12 was. Pac-12 was still kind of a joke.
Yep, that is true. Questions?
Yeah.
What do we got?
Jermaine asked, is Jacob Polite back? I thought I saw him sitting next to Mata on the pregame show.
I don't think so.
Someone in the comments said it was an old video.
Yeah.
That was posted.
I'm pretty sure Jacob's back in Texas. So.
What part of Texas? Do you remember?
Lubbock.
Okay.
Texas Tech.
Oh, yeah. We'll be there. We'll see him.
We will. He already said he's coming out to the tailgate and stuff.
Let's go.
So,
That'd be sick.
if you're coming out to the game in Lubbock, that'll be your chance to meet Jacob Polite. What's going on?
I
Who
don't
is
know.
that?
A lot of glaring going on from our left.
Holy shit, is that Dead Mouse?
What?
I don't know, some guy wearing a head thing.
It's definitely not Dead Mouse.
It was a joke.
MLN wants to know, did Yorkman mention any hints at consolidation with the ACC?
No.
No. He was very broad when it came to realignment.
He actually didn't say anything.
He really didn't.
He was asked about the private equity, which, might I add, he brought up.
He did, yes.
And so then he was asked to follow up on that. He's like, I'm not going to get into specifics of that. I'm like, okay, well. He basically just said, in my opinion, money is good. And that was all he said.
That's pretty much.
You should go to Premier Members Credit Union.
He also said we're nationwide about 5 times.
Which is true.
It is true. What else we got?
From Donald, what time is the show tomorrow?
That is a great question, Donald. Tell you what, brother. I don't
how
know.
long it takes Jake to buy a dime bag under a bridge.
Weed is legal here, bro. I don't have to do that.
That's good news because I'm going to Dead & Company at the Sphere on Thursday.
Yeah, you can get yourself set on Fremont.
Yep, I'm gonna go full Jake. Jake and bake.
Oh man.
MLN says, looking at the ASU depth chart, don't see Alto. Wonder how he's doing there. Did they sell him on starting next to Scattaboo?
Oh, Dillingham just walked by us, so.
Yeah, we should ask him how Alto's doing. We might get a chance to talk to him a little bit later.
Dillingham sees our tweets, though. We learned that.
Yeah, I can't wait to ask him about that. Earlier today when we said what up to him, he's like, oh, yeah, I see you guys on Twitter. It's like, oh, God. What did he see?
He's probably seen a lot.
Probably saw me directing his band and was like, we got to get that guy a job.
Oh, classic. What
Did
else?
that ever go out on Twitter? I don't think it did.
You would have shared it if you did.
It was just on the show, I think.
I think so.
Who has the clip?
No, don't do that right now. It's got to be in Buffs assignments somewhere.
What else do we got?
The Xyleman wants to know, will CP be able to attend Media Day this year?
He'll be here.
He will, at least as of now.
He's going to be here.
That's it.
Rest assured.
That is it, huh?
Apparently, I look more high without the mustache.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. It's crazy.
You going to get some White Castle tonight?
Yes.
We'll see.
It's an unrelated question.
Maybe. We'll see.
Last time we were here, Jake put me on to White Castle, and it did hit.
Yeah.
It did hit.
RG's ready.
Yeah, shout out RG. All right. Anything else?
Well, we've got a few more things coming today, hopefully.
Yes.
Last year at Pac-12 Media Day, basically they gave us a schedule, and they're like, these people will be coming to your table at this time.
Yep.
Not the case here. So now I don't know what I can believe in, what I can count on. Multiple teams, coaches, players have told us they would talk to us around 2:30.
Yep.
So hopefully we get all of those interviews. We'll have some fun content coming from that. But I don't know. I don't feel all that confident about promising that because not all of that has come true so far.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, Coach Prime, Shedeur, Shiloh, Travis, and Mark Vissette, mate, will be here. I'm sure we will get them. I just don't know for how long.
I feel like there's going to be some epic photos of that crew.
Oh, of course there is.
Like, the first four in that crew, we've seen them together.
Yeah.
Then you just throw in mate on the private jet or however they're getting here.
Mate should be the tip of the spear of the formation when they walk in.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
So yeah, that's pretty much all I can tell you about tomorrow. We'll tweet out when we're going live, but influx is the update.
All right.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right, we're done. See you guys tomorrow. Let's go Buffs.
Let's go Buffs.
We all silly like the mayor.